All right, we are live. Hello, friends. My name is Dustin Jones. I am one of two ICE faculty members with the older adult division. Christina Previtt is the other one. She had an amazing PT on ICE last week talking about the Lift More trial. If you did not listen to that, go check it out. That's going to be a big conversation starter for sure in kind of our world and working with older adults. So before we dive into today's topic, I do want to mention. All right, we had a little technical difficulty there, so I think we're still rolling. PTOnIce.com. So we talk about the courses all the time, when they're happening, who's teaching them, whatnot. I know it may seem like a lot, but what you can do is go to PTOnIce.com, click on the courses tab, go all the way to the bottom, and you're going to see ICE Essentials. ICE Essentials is the mailing list, so you can drop your email in there, and you're going to get all the updates and a very nice, clean email that you can reference later. Super helpful resource so you can stay, just updated on what all's going on if someone's going to be relatively close to you for a course. So I would go to ptonice.com, courses, go to the very bottom and sign up there. So today I wanted to talk about immersive design, not a common physical therapy topic by any means, but as Christina, like I mentioned last week, was doing that really awesome Facebook Live or podcast on the Lift More trial, I was talking to an interior designer, which I know may sound questionable, but I was doing an interview for a podcast, and this woman's name is Lisa Cini. So Lisa Cini is an interior designer, but she designs spaces for patients. So whether it's a skilled nursing facility, acute care hospital, long-term, acute care, all the different facilities that we kind of work in, she designs them. She's also an author. She wrote a book called Hive about how she has someone, or her family is living all under the same roof, and it's someone from the age of 17 all the way up to 94. And then she's written another book about technology for older adults. But all that to say, amazing woman, very just very motivational in her career. But then also she mentioned that she would design these places and then she would sleep in them. So she would design a nursing home and then stay in the nursing home for 2 to 3 nights at a minimum. She, felt the sheets. She used the bathroom in the bathroom. She walked the halls. She ate the food. Just kind of experienced everything about this creation that she was a big part of. And so she called that immersive design. And when you Google immersive design, a few different things will come up, but it's basically the concept of you, the designer or architect or whatnot, that you're coordinating this experience, that you immerse yourself in the other person's shoes that's going to be the consumer of what you're building. And that really struck me as a very interesting thing to think about, a thought experiment, if you will, for us as physical therapists, PTAs, chiropractors. If you listen to this stuff, I mean, just if we are caring for people, what's it like for us to immerse ourselves in their shoes? I know we talk a lot about empathy and just really trying to connect with patients, but I don't know, something about immersive design really had me thinking a little bit differently about that whole concept. So I pulled up some notes after that. I'm just going to go through some of these things that made me think about, but honestly, the one thing that it took me back to immediately was physical therapy school. I don't know if many of you all experience this, but our program, University of Kentucky, we had to spend a whole day in a wheelchair, and we had to go around campus, and it was just so eye-opening for many of us, and probably the most impactful day in PT school, to where you realize what it's like, to be in a wheelchair. And so it really makes you think differently. And so immersive design, I don't think we need to limit it just to that wheelchair experience, but we can kind of take this big picture and just kind of go through the different steps of care that we provide. So I want to just have a little thought experiment with you. So just think about your setting. So let's just think about your space, your building. A lot of you all probably work in outpatient orthopedics. I work out of a car in other people's homes, so this may not be as helpful for people in home health. But if you're, say you're an outpatient ortho, think about the design of your space. Immerse yourself in that space. What's the lighting like? Is there ample lighting for older adults that have a tough time transitioning from outside to inside? If there's a big contrast, that can be an issue for them. What are the sound levels like? Is it a really loud clinic, or do you have strategically placed acoustic bats hanging on the wall, or pieces of art that kind of absorb sound? Because that can be really, really difficult for patients if they can't hear well. What's the height of your furniture? Do you have super low chairs that are just really, really difficult to get out of? Because that can be pretty common. So just think about the design of your space and how we can accommodate our patients. Next thing, just think about the situation that this patient is in. Think about that they're coming probably to a stranger to talk about their weaknesses, their struggles, their pain. That for a lot of us that haven't experienced that's pretty challenging to say the least. But think about, for a lot of the older adults, they're going into that situation having already talked to dozens of healthcare providers that may or may not have been helpful, may or may not have been respectful to them. And so just to immerse yourself in that experience when you're on that end. And that, I feel like that's going to influence the words that you use, how you carry yourself, the nonverbals that you give off. Next, the examination process. This is a big struggle, more so when I just graduated from school, but the concept of irritability, I did not respect as much as I probably should have. I know, I would try and go by the book, do my exam steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I would not change my route whatsoever, even if what I was doing was making the patient more painful. And I know we talk a lot about this at the Institute of Clinical Excellence, that irritability is going to guide a lot of what you're doing. We don't want to increase irritability with our interventions or with our examination. So just think about what it would be like to go into someone and you have back pain, and when you bend forward multiple times, your back pain goes through the roof. But yet that physical therapist or whoever's performing that evaluation is telling you, go ahead, bend forward about 10 times, and then your pain goes up to an 8 out of 10. I did that to several patients. I regret it, obviously, but just think about the impact that would have on the people that we care for. And then lastly, I want to talk about just treatment. And I think this is something that is pretty common in our field. But just think about how often we prescribe exercises without ever performing them. Think about that VHI, 8 to 12 exercise sheet that every clinic has printed off, ready to hand to a patient. How many times have you performed that resisted TheraBand exercise? You may have in school, but I would imagine a lot of people, since then have not touched, a TheraBand for their own use, or even know what it's like to perform that activity. And I think some people that are really setting a good example about this, of actually experiencing or doing what you're teaching people or telling them to do, is our fitness athlete division. So the clinical management of the fitness athletes, so Mitch, Ryan, Zach, all those guys, they practice what they preach. And that's kind of, they talk about that a lot. We should be ambassadors for this stuff. We should be able to share in the struggle, if you will, with some of our patients, because they know, if I do a back squat, I've got a little more respect when I'm prescribing, that back squat to the patient. So I think about that a lot. I worked at a kettlebell gym, Lori Kroc in Columbus. She would not teach, or she would not tell the group to do a certain workout if she had not performed it before. And that just really stuck with me. And I think, how often do I not do that? So when we think about treatment, put yourself in those people's shoes. What is it like to actually perform 8 to 12 different exercises with TheraBand? Especially think about what it's like for an older adult to perform that may have limited mobility. It may be difficult to change positions, may be painful to change positions all the time. And what may take you 5 minutes to perform, it may take them 30 minutes to perform that routine. And then when you tell them to perform that 3 times a day, and then they have 15, 25 medications to take multiple times a day, that's tough. It's not easy. So immerse yourself in their shoes and what it's like for them. And I feel like that can have a really helpful influence on even how we treat, what we prescribe. And I know for me, especially after going into the home, once my elaborate, these 8 to 12 exercises that are pinpointing their specific deficits, now after I'm in the home and see what life is like for so many people and the struggles they have and all the medications they have to take and all the, just the social issues that are so common, I'm given like 2 to 3 exercises for a home exercise program. And I've had good results with that. So that's more anecdotal than anything, but I think we should at least think about that. So that's kind of the thought experiment. So I want to leave you all with the more practical experiment that you can perform when we're talking about immersive design. So a big issue with older adults is falls. We're going to talk more about that for sure in our course of Modern Management of the Older Adult, but then also on PT on ice. But falls are a big risk. The fear of falling is also, a huge issue that can impact people's performance. A lot of times people are afraid of the floor. If I've had several patients, I'll ask them, when was the last time you were on the floor not associated with falling? And I've heard up to 40 years, 30 years. I mean, people, as they age, they just don't get on the ground as much because they're afraid of it. They're afraid they can't get off the ground as easily as they used to. So one thing that we as physical therapists can do a great service to these people is perform floor transfers. So how to, get to the ground efficiently and safely, but then get up from the ground efficiently and safely. If they have to clean something or pick something up, but also if they have a fall. So fall recovery strategies. But a lot of people that we work with have specific deficits. A lot of my patients, they have just kind of chronic knee pain on the right, or they have limited mobility on their left knee with flexion, or they have, shoulder pain that they really can't use their right arm to really push and support themselves. So I challenge you to try and get up from the ground with only 3 of your limbs. So take out your right arm, try and get up. Take out your left arm, try and get up. Take out your right leg and try and get up from the ground. And just observe what you learn. You start to learn, if I put my foot in this position closer to my center of mass, I can get more strength to come up. Or if I get this piece of furniture here, I can put my elbow there. And so you develop all these strategies that you can go ahead and give to your patients. And I think that is very valuable. So that's a practical assignment. Get up from the ground. Only using 3 limbs. Do that with all your arms and legs, and I guarantee you're going to think differently about how you teach floor transfers at least, but how you even prescribe your exercises as you kind of immerse yourself in their experience. So that's all I've got on immersive design. As I said in the beginning, check out ptonice.com, go to the courses page, go down to the bottom, Ice Essentials, sign up for that. You'll get all the helpful information that we talk about on this podcast in terms of when courses are going on, any specials that we're running, and any new fun, exciting announcements. So thank you all. You all have a lovely Wednesday, and I'll talk with you all in a couple weeks.